No Jayden Daniels, no problems for the Washington Commanders as they dismantle the Carolina Panthers 47. We've got your instant reaction right here on Ref the District.
Yeah, it's Ref the District. Come on now and join us.
Let's go.
Greetings and salutations and welcome to Ref the District's instant reaction. I'm Nathan Perry. Stoner not going to be here. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. Trev didn't call out, but I obviously not here currently. But that's okay. This is fantastic start, guys. You got to forget the microphone. That's perfect. So hopefully I was loud enough for that intro. Regardless, we're going to continue on here. Washington beating Carolina 40-7 this time. This is fantastic. We're back in a onesie. This time it's the Washington football team onesie as we keep things rolling here in the burgundy and gold. Now, Jaden Daniels, we're going to be talking about that, but let's first talk about how the Commanders more than covered. It was a 10-point spread. Over and under was 50.5. Washington almost got there themselves, and you would have been able to bet on that action had you head over to Bet Online. They've got all the updated news and information for you, and Trev is joining us to celebrate this victory and talk about, of course, our wonderful QB going down. Now, that wasn't predicted by Bet Online, and if you bet on an anytime touchdown, which would have been a gimme in a game like this, you weren't going to be able to cash out, but you would have found other ways. Again, that's Bet Online, where the game starts. Trev, I don't want to bury the lead, especially since I forgot my microphone at the start of this. But the Jayden Daniels going down early, big run, starting off the game, kind of comes up from it a little hurt. You see it on the next couple plays where he's kind of grabbing that midsection. Let's talk about that before we get to all of our impressive people here in the chat and also the rest of this game.
I'm scared. I'm nervous. I wanted to throw up when that happened. Heck of a run. Surprising first play call for the offense. Didn't see that run coming to start off the offense, but it happened. Great run. I noticed he got up a little gimpy, grabbed his midsection. And then on the next play, he tried to do a little scramble and did like a little slow juke and just like kind of fell to the ground. I was like, yeah, this man's in pain. Didn't know if it was his leg or what. Like I didn't know what it was. Maybe he got the wind knocked out of him is what I was thinking. But then as it got progressed, they said he went to the blue tent. I wanted to puke even more. And then he was out on the sideline warming up passes. And I was like, okay. Then they said he grimaced in pain after he threw like 4 or 5 passes and he slammed his helmet. And I was like, oh, usually when a player slams his helmet, he knows
not a good sign.
Bad news is coming. So, we're just crossing our fingers, see what happens. He came out of the locker room second quarter, or actually, no, after halftime, third quarter. Thumbs upping some people, smiling,
street
waving.
Clothes, definitely out of the game.
Clothes,
His mom did tweet saying, hey, he's good. And that's good news that it's not a long-term issue. We'll have to wait and to see about how much time he's going to be missing. Big game against Chicago coming up. But this game here, Washington trouncing Carolina. Marcus Mariota in relief, 18 for 23, 205 yards, 2 touchdowns. Brian Robinson, 12 carries, 71 yards, touchdown on the ground himself. And everybody got involved to the tune of 214 yards rushing from Washington, something that was missing last week against Baltimore. Andy Dalton, the Red Rock at 11 of 16, not so bad until you realize he only threw for 93 yards, an entire game and only 93 yards, 2 interceptions. Of course, one of those was returned for a touchdown by Fowler. Hubbard, who you was really concerned about early on in this rushing game, 17 carries, 52 yards, and a touchdown on the day. Kind of hard to run, Trev, when you're getting blown out.
Exactly. They came out of the gate with that long run with Boobie Miles Sanders, and Chuba was getting a couple some good yards on his couple runs, and that's been our Achilles heel all season as our run defense. We let no-name running backs run all over us or mediocre running backs running all over us. And Chuba Hubbard came into the game averaging like 6 yards a carry. He's like one of the top rushers in the league. And us missing Jonathan Allen was kind of concerning for us. But our defensive line held up. All those practice squad players and And Deron Payne held up and shut down the run game.
Yeah, Johnny Newton. I mean, the entire defensive line did really good here. And you know who's doing really good as well? All these people in the chat. We got Locked On Law, JG, Jim, Trey, Sean. We got PNW Trout Slayer. We've got Doug in the house as well. Brian here, Timothy, 3-1 at home. Absolutely. Timothy, not only that, but an important game, as this was the Darryl Green jersey retirement ceremony. And this is one of those things, Paul in the house as well here. This is one of those times where Washington kind of tries to host something. You're talking about a game after losing to Baltimore, and a lot of people were thinking this might be another letdown game because played up against one of the better teams. What are you going to do against a weaker opponent? You got Chicago. People are already looking towards that matchup because it's the number 1 pick versus the number 2 pick. All of these things going on in people's heads, and Washington was having none of it. These players came out. This is Trev. How interesting is that like you have all this stuff going on, and you have a history of playing down to your opponents. Well, Carolina might be the worst team. They might be going for another number 1 overall pick.
Yeah.
And
yes.
Hopefully this time they keep it. They're not trading this one away.
Yeah. No, thank you.
It's just they're a bad team, and Washington treated them like a bad team. Late touchdown didn't really matter. You're already up by 30 plus points at that time. By the time Hubbard ends up scoring his touchdown, kind of ruins the clean sheet for the defense, which I feel it's kind of important. I wanted those guys to get a clean sheet.
Yeah,
I wanted it to be a shutout because they deserve it. I mean, when you're talking about an interception return for a touchdown. They had another interception on top of that. And it was an airtight game. One of the things you can tell that's fairly decent about how this game went is they threw for less than 90 yards, Trev, less than 90 yards combined, unless you do count the Fowler interception for their yardage. You hold them to less than 100 yards rushing, and your leading tacklers are Mike Sanistril and Noah Igbenogany. Like, that's fantastic.
What?
We'll take it. To me, that's good stuff. Normally it's not good when your cornerbacks are your leading tacklers, because it means that you're 10, 20 yards down the field. But when you put all that in perspective, the defense came out to play. Now, this isn't a good offense. They're missing a lot of things.
Right.
And of course, they lost to Baltimore, giving up 30 points last week. But I feel like this is closer to who their identity is, Trev, than what was last week. I mean, because you saw back-to-back good games, right? And then you saw the Baltimore game. Now you see a fantastic game. So I feel like they're really starting to get their identity under Joe Witt Jr. The coaching, the experience, the communication, all that stuff's starting to come together.
I agree. The defense looked fundamentally sound today. We were making tackles. There weren't too many missed tackles out there. And we did what we were supposed to do, shut down the run game and keep them from scoring. I know the Panthers are 1-6, but I think like the last 3 or 4 games, I forgot who tweeted this, but they've scored like 20 points in the last 3 or 4 games the Panthers have. Still lost, but they scored 20 points. And we only allowed 7. So like you said, bend don't break. And we didn't do too much bending. We didn't do any breaking. We just made some stops. We were a force on the defense side of the ball. It's crazy that 2 cornerbacks were leading tacklers. That's wild. 2 cornerbacks were leading tacklers. So I think you're right. I think we're finally treading in the right direction with Joe Witt and his defense. And he took that loss against Baltimore pretty hard. He took that one pretty hard. He blamed himself a lot for the defensive miscues. And so you feel like this last week of practice, he really honed in on making sure he was accountable and correcting his mistakes so it can translate to the field. And it did, no matter the competition. We dominated like we were supposed to do. So.
Yeah, NPR here. No more playing down to our competition. We playing up to our standards. Absolutely love to see it. Timothy pointing out that this same offense scored 16 on the Bears. The Bears defense known to be a much better defense than the Commanders, and the Carolina Panthers scoring 16 against them. I mean, it just started off so good for Washington as that opening drive. You were a little concerned because they were moving the ball, seemed like it was going to go, at least get a field goal. And then pressure got to Andy Dalton. He throws a bad pass. Fowler's there. and he has Deron Payne as a blocker because that Fowler is not fast enough. And he was going to get caught from behind, but thankfully made it 6-7 yards, get the touchdown. And from that point, Trev, you knew that this game was just going to be ours for the taking. It just was
for sure.
Yeah. And then of course the second drive that they had of the game is a punt away. So a 3 and out, no less. And it was just like, this game, it's already a runaway. We're gonna get the ball on the third drive of the game, up 7-0, and you're like, this is great. This is gonna be a blowout. Trev, I believe if Jayden Daniels doesn't go down with an injury, that this is a 50 burger. I really think it easily would have been 50 points with him being in there. Let's move to that offense that would have scored 33 points minus that defensive touchdown. Sean pointing out B-Rob averaging 5.9s per carry. This is somebody who's been banged up. He missed the Baltimore game, and we felt that he's coming back. He's coming back strong, gets another touchdown, having a fantastic effort on my fantasy team that is now 0-7 on the year. But at least I got Brian Robinson shown out for me each week. What do you make of this offense, even under Marcus Mariota, just being able to move the ball, put up points, and look really consistent in like an NFL offense? Not a college offense that people are calling it, but an NFL offense.
It's really enlightening to see us playing smart offensive ball. There might be a couple of times where you're like, Cliff, what are you doing? But we're used to being like, Scott, what are you doing? Eric Bieniemy, what are you doing? Whoever else is OC, what are you doing? Like all game. Cliff had a theme of throwing too many screens. I don't think he called one screen this game. I don't think. If it was nothing happened from him, but I don't think there was one screen. So it's just great to see us being a balanced offensive attack right now in the NFL. Our running game is strong. I think that's what really gets the offense as a whole going, is our running game, because that can open up running games for Jayden Daniels and also play action. And the offensive line is just doing a hell of a job helping B-Rob and Eckler and Jeremy McNichols to be comparable running backs and have a comparable running game. So it's very, very, like I said, enlightening to see us move the ball efficiently, smartly, in some sense, patiently. I know we have the no-huddle offense and kind of up-tempo, but it's still like a cool, calm, collected offense. There's less confusion that we saw in the first few weeks, coming out of a timeout or whatever. People line up wrong and Jayden have to go crazy and tell people to go in the right spots. You don't really see that much anymore. It feels like the offense is really grasping on everybody that plays a part in the role. So, it's just awesome to see us being an NFL offense for once and being a balanced attack and working efficiently.
Yeah. So I think a lot of people shared this sentiment with Paul here. I was a bit worried about Mariota at the start, but he certainly got hot. He was completing much deeper throws and showed a different take of the offense's ability. The screen game was used less. Yeah. I think, like you mentioned, Trev, didn't really see a lot in the screen game. And I think that's because that's not a strength of Marcus Mariota. You did see him use his legs, which I found fairly interesting, as Marcus Mariota ended up running 11 times for 34 yards. And it's not fantastic, right? But it's just enough that as a defense, you have to respect it. He's not Jayden Daniels. He's not going out for that big run, but he's going to pick up a first down here and there, and you have to respect it. But I agree. Those passes later on, very crisp. And the offense, you're starting to see those wide receivers get open more often. This was something that was a bigger complaint early on. Even though the offense was clicking early this season, the separation wasn't really there. Now wide receivers are finding themselves wide open. The scheme is working. And like you said, it's all going through this rushing attack. And this is one of the reasons why Cliff Kingsbury, at the beginning of the season, he's like, well, that's not air raid. They ran 37 times for 214 yards. That's fantastic. That is this is going to end up being one of the top rushing teams, not just top offenses, but one of the top rushing teams in the NFL. And that bodes well going into the thing here. Everyone's calling out Cricket again as Trev's friend is back. I'll let him change his own name at this time. But Marcus Mariota I think alleviated a lot of our worries because we didn't want to see him. Right. Stoner's been on record talking about how if we see Marcus Mariota, the season's lost. I'm not saying it's going to be a good season with Marcus Mariota because he's not Jayden Daniels, but he at least made us feel like he can hold the ball. Okay. He can go ahead and receive those snaps for Washington and things will go well
he
for
did.
Washington.
He did the job of a backup quarterback. That's exactly what a backup quarterback is supposed to do. You don't have to come in and be the superhero. You have to come in and put up gaudy stats. You just need to pick up where the first QB left off. And I think he did that. After a few shaky start, after a first little bit of a shaky start, I was worried. I was like, there's no way that we can finish this game. I think I even put in the group chat, he's going to make this game closer when it needs to be because, it's Marcus Mariota. But now we see why we signed him as a backup. Now we see why Jayden Daniels praises him so much and why DQ praises him so much because he's just a little bit older Jayden Daniels. I mean, I know Jayden Daniels is much more special, more agile, but Marcus Mariota was once that kind of quarterback too. I mean, he won the Heisman at Oregon for the same thing, had early success at Tennessee for being the same kind of quarterback, and he showed that today. He might not run for that big, large run, but he'll make people miss, and he'll be serviceable, and that's exactly what a backup quarterback's supposed to do. So shout out to Marcus Mariota. I don't want to see him anymore.
Yeah.
Especially
Please
not as
remain
a
on the
starter.
sidelines.
Yes.
Unless you're out there for victory formation and another blow.
Yes, exactly. But I'll give credit where credit's due, and he deserves a ton of it today for being
Jersey here, Jersey Slam warning us a little bit. Mariota versus Carolina. Let's not give him too much credit, fellas. He played well, but remember who he played. That's fair, Jersey. I understand that. Doug here, Mariota will keep games winnable. And I think that's more so where we're at here. And Luis with another good comment. Mariota just showed me that we have a team. Just protect the ball, no crazy plays, and we're good. And I think that's where we are at right now is we have a team that's well coached. We're not star-studded. Okay. We don't have the big names. No one's really collecting a big paycheck here outside of the defensive tackles. And one of them is injured. Terry McLaurin, I guess, is as well collecting a pretty decent paycheck, but we don't have a lot of studs. You're not going to see Washington players on the NFL top 100, even after this season, if they even have a winning record, right? It's just not going to happen because that's not where this team is, but they're playing like a team. They're playing to their strengths. They're running the ball. And the offensive line is performing well. Big worry for us going into the season. And even not just running, Trev, but they managed to keep Marcus Mariota upright. Only one sack on the day. Gave up one sack. And I don't care that it's the Carolina Panthers. Okay? I don't care that they gave away Brian Burns. I don't care that they let us pick up Luvu and Chen. It doesn't matter. We only gave up one sack, and that's a huge improvement for this offensive line from last year.
Yeah, we'll take it. It's a bunch of different faces this year. And shout out to the coaching staff in practice. Whatever they're doing in practice is translating to the field. And we've had some big-name offensive line coaches in the past and big-name offensive line players in the past, and it just wasn't clicking. But now we just got a bunch of straight-up football players, a bunch of dogs, a bunch of guys who want to win and be successful. And really put the work in to do that, and it's showing day in and day out every week as the season goes. So, like you said, as a worry before about the offensive line for many years, I don't have any worry about the offensive line right now.
Doing good work around here. Gus asking a question, not just about this game, but kind of going future here is, does today's injury change how Cliff utilizes JD's running for the remainder of the year? I hope so, says Gus Bus.
Oh, man. That's going to be that's an interesting question. Yes and no. You don't want to shy away from it and take away from it completely because it's naturally part of his game. But maybe you want to design a little bit different ones or just teach them. I know you want to break for a big game, but just get down. We can still get there if we just get down. We don't need you to risk your life out there like that. So that's tough.
I really think that if he was okay to go back into the game, that you were going to see more of a pocket passer, Jayden Daniels. You weren't going to see, I think after that one run where he went kind of down awkward, and he was doing that because he really wanted to protect himself because he felt it in his ribs, and he was just like, nope, not getting hit, going down. And I really feel like that would have put him similar to how we saw. What game was that, Trev? That he got shellacked, he got walloped, and then this whole second half he was a pocket passer, but he was just ripping them apart. Was that the Bengals?
I think it might have been the Bengals game. Yeah, I think Trey Henderson. I think it was the one who got the sack.
Someone smacked him on kind of a short run, and everybody held their breath. It feels like forever ago. Mm-hmm. Everyone was just holding their breath, and he comes back in, and he just became a pocket passer. But by golly, he can pocket pass. So
I was
TJ Senen was the Giants.
Okay. Yeah, I was definitely nervous after that first run, the way he was tackled. He was tackled very, very awkwardly on his head, and he got up and his whole helmet was like distorted, and you could just see on his face he was like trying to fix his helmet. Like he got rocked on that tackle. So I knew something was up a little bit, but
I was surprised he got today's tackle. I was surprised that he got caught, to be honest.
Yeah. I know.
I
think if he would have kept going, he would have made it, but he tried to cut back in. And
he was too worried about the guy behind him, where he was just kind of sitting there trying to like wave to him and push him off and everything. If he just focused and he pulled out a Darrell Green and just blew by everybody, that would have been been something. One of the other injuries here is Coleman, the rookie left tackle, who's been alternating with Lucas, out with the game with a concussion. Cornelius Lucas has been good this year. Maybe not great, but good, serviceable, if you don't like me using the term good. What do you make of that injury to the offensive line?
I think it's a blow because this two left tackle system that we've been running has been working every week pretty much, because we're pretty much protecting the quarterback for the most part. But I think it's a huge blow because Brandon Coleman was really starting to come into his own, really show why he's that third round pick out of TCU, and using his size and his agility, and he was being really good. But now we've got Cornelius Lucas, but like you say, he's serviceable. But I feel like Lucas probably performed better with that two left tackle interchange system because you're keeping each guy fresh. So now we got to see how Lucas is going to hold up for the entirety of the game. I don't know if we'll see some Trent Scott in there as a rotation piece too, the one who caught the big man touchdown. But yeah, it's a little bit of a blow, little bit of a blow, yes.
Well, all phases were going well for Washington, as Luis points out here. Seibert, our kicker, Cybertron, turning out to be a pleasant surprise. He was money today for Washington as well. So he was 4 for 4 on the day for field goals and 4 for 4 in extra points. So perfect for your fantasy team if you happen to pick him up, because I don't know what we did to have the stars align, Trev, to finally have a kicker, but we did it. We got a QB and a kicker in the same, and possibly left tackle coming back from concussion, hopefully, within the next week or two, all in 1 year. Like, what did we do, Trev? We found 30 years of Dan Snyder is what it took to do it, but we did it, Trev. We did it.
We did it. It's Christmas came early for us this year. It started back in April when we actually started last year when Josh Harris took over the team, but then we started celebrating Christmas early when we drafted and made all the moves. So,
well, let's keep moving things. There's not too much to talk about because this game just was an absolute blowout, a smack. Yeah. Lots of positives here and not too many negatives, but we do like to go over who our go-gos and no-gos are. So, Trav, we like to start with our no-gos. Comments, get them locked in here as well with who you think was a no-go for this team for the game against the Carolina Panthers. Trev, who do you got?
No-go? God, that's hard. To be honest, that's hard. If I have to pick one, it'll be the injury bug.
Yeah.
The injury bug hit us this game. Jayden Daniels, Brandon Coleman, Bidiash played, but he went to the locker room a little early holding his hand, but looked like he got that fixed up at halftime and came back out. I'm just going to say the injury bug because, like you said, we were great in all phases of the game, special teams, offense, and defense. I didn't tweet a lot of negative stuff today except for and the cricket. Yeah, the cricket we no-go. Except for Mariota came out and started showing like, oh, God, this is going to be a long game after about 4 or 5 series or whatever, possessions or whatever. But, yeah, no-go, I guess, it's just the injury bug because it hit Jayden Daniels and Brandon Coleman.
That's fair. We were messaging in our group chat. I was like, oh, this is like the body bag game. And it was as players were going down left and right. It didn't matter though. Washington pretty dominant. So you're right. It's hard to pick one. So I'm going to have my no-go be the no-show, Stoner, for not showing up today. Now he had good reasons, I'm sure. He says everything's okay. And what I'm going to need from people is to get the hashtag victory chug going on all of our content this week. Okay. If you see anything ref the district, and especially on Wednesday, just hashtag victory chug. We need Stoner. He said he would do it if Carolina managed to win, but we need Stoner to have some sort. I've got the onesie. Trev, we'll figure something out for you. But we need Stoner to do victory chugs. That needs to be his thing. We'll make it up to him if he wants to actually do Carolina barbecue. The man at least didn't wreck himself by saying Carolina Reaper barbecue, right? Like he stopped it there. He made sure he wasn't going to go to the hospital. But you got to make sure to put out there the victory chug. Bosky, the no-go to the shutout. Yeah, that one.
Okay.
That one's bad. Ertz, yeah, Doug Ertz for blowing that one play with a false start. He had multiple false starts. And when Mariota first came into the game, he was looking for Zach there, and Zach dropped the ball. He was looking for, I think it was Oz. Yeah, Oz dropped the ball. The wide receivers were doing him. The receivers were doing him no favors. Marcus Mariota, no favors. But they got it together, and that was pretty good there. So Gus with the no-goes, the Eagles routing the Giants in MetLife, and Hurts reestablishing connection with A.J. Brown. That was pretty scary. No-go. TJ didn't have one. How about this as a no-go? Being conservative because you were up and going for a field goal, even though it was a 4th and short in the red zone there where you could have gotten that.
The crowd booed too a little bit. They said.
The crowd wasn't happy with it. The crowd wasn't happy with it at all. And it was just like, come on, you're routing them. You don't necessarily need to throw it in their face any further, but that's what we all wanted. Let's move over to the Go-Gos, but first let's give Ted here a go-go. Ted, thanks for the $5 here. Like I said last week, we are a 10 to 12 win team. We showed what we are capable of today. We cannot be stopped. We can only stop ourselves. This team, and I've mentioned this before, they do feel inevitable, right? The offense is clicking. They're going to score points. The defense isn't always clicking, but they can make stops. This is, make no doubt about it, a good team. This is a team that should finish with a winning record. This is a team that shows that it can compete with good teams. And what we need to see is a Washington team that is beating good teams. That's the only step I think that's remaining here. I think we're really close, Trev.
I think we're really close too. We were close against Baltimore last week.
Yeah.
Just shot ourselves in the foot a couple of times. But I think we're definitely trending in that direction to beating good teams.
So Ted with that $5 donation, much appreciated. Going down the Go-Gos. Before we get to ours, let's talk about some of the ones in here in the chat. And this is Gus with the Go-Go having the best point differential in the league. Highest scoring team. And despite this defense not being the world's best, is holding it up enough so they have the best point differential. That's awesome. So, all right, Trev, how about yourself?
I got to go to Marcus Mariota. I got to do that. He came in and did what he was supposed to do, kept the foot on the gas, moved the ball efficiently, protected the ball, no turnovers, used his skill set to create plays and make plays happen and get some first downs and 5 receivers open downfield. So Marcus Mariota is my go-go. Way to go, 18.
Bosky, taking care of our food, says Bosky, right? Not playing down the competition, not something we're used to. We're used to these games being ugly. I mean, our guest came in and said 17-13, and we all kind of laughed. But, I mean, really in the back of our heads, we're thinking, he's not wrong. This could exactly be the game where Washington gives it up here. Paul, go for Cliff Kingsbury, called a great game. Just kept, I loved that they were aggressive and just kept going for it. They didn't pull off until they were up by 30 points. And they're like, okay, maybe we don't need a touchdown. We're up 34-0. We can kick a field goal here. Brian, go to Ben Sinnott. First catch, first TD. People been asking about him. Where was he? And there he was. It was always going to happen. Yeah, Ben Sinnott, a very good one there. Go-Go's getting turnovers and near ones with causing fumbles. Absolutely. JG, go for Terry, almost going 100 without JD5. That's perfect. John Pauline, go as RD, getting 2 interceptions, one as a pick 6. And that's where I'm going to go with my go is the defensive side of the ball. And how about Emmanuel Forbes coming back from being a healthy scratch and getting an interception? Was it a fantastic? It wasn't like it was an acrobatic one. He just happened to be there, but he was there. He was there, and hopefully that's what he was missing, just some confidence. That's what he was known for coming out of college, was being a ball hawk, knowing where the ball was going to be and just being there. It's kind of like a good rebounder in basketball, right? It's about positioning. And if Forbes can just start positioning himself to be there, it'd be great. Now, Luis is going Fowler as a go perfectly fine with that as well. Fowler had a good game, and hard to argue when you run back 67 yards for a touchdown. That is fantastic. Now that we've got our go-go's out of the way, Trev, we have our Don't Sleep player of the game. Don't Sleep Energy is a local DMV company that you can support by heading out to their website, don'tsleepenergy.com. Use the code DISTRICT. Gives you 10% off your entire order, whether or not it's their energy drinks or any of their fantastic gear. Support a local company by going out to don'tsleepenergy.com. Don't Sleep Energy. It makes you great. So who's your Don't Sleep player of the game?
It could be a few people. I'm going to go with B-Rob. I think especially since he missed last week with that knee injury, it's been kind of hindering him for the past couple of weeks. A lot of people want him to rest this week because of the future Carolina defense and get ready to go next week. But I think if he could have played last week too if they really wanted to. But just to give him one rest was a difficult decision, but it had to happen. But he came out 5.9 yards a carry, a clip, scored a touchdown, kept the offense moving. He had no negative yards on his runs. He was breaking tackles, making people miss, running straight through. So for somebody to come off of a game on the bench all last week and to have that performance, I don't care who the defense was, that deserves player of the game for me. So go ahead with B-Rob.
Yeah, called questionable heading into the game. And performed very well for a guy, like you mentioned, who had an injury. Now, I'm going to go here with my Don't Sleep Energy player of the game as Marcus Mariota. I mentioned his stat line earlier, 18 for 23, 205 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, only the 1 sack. He also had 11 carries for 34 yards on the ground. He came in and he not only won this football game, collectively the team did, I get that, but not only did he quarterback this team to a win, but he quarterbacked this team to alleviate all of us. Because when Jayden Daniels was tossing his helmet down onto the ground, all of us thought, this is it. We all had those thoughts going back to 2012. We're just like, this is that moment. We're going to go back and 5 years from now, and this is going to be RG3, taking that step back in the playoffs and just collapsing. And that's what we were thinking. And Marcus Mariota came in there and said, pump the brakes. Let's win this game. Jayden Daniels' mom comes out and said, he's fine. Broadcast, everybody's just like, no, he's okay, but he's not coming back in this game. And it was just like, whew. So I'm going to give my player of the game to my Don't Sleep player of the game to Marcus Mariota. So now shout out, to Jaden's mom for telling us all he's good, because that was good. Shout out. Shout out also to Adam Peters for starting this here at Washington. I know we've talked a little bit about this before, but this is something that didn't happen in previous regimes. But Adam Peters and company, when they have an injured player, when they have a player that gets injured and taken off the field and they get evaluated and we find out what's going on with them, the team finds out what's going on with them, they contact the family to say, hey, this is what's going on, or like, hey, he's okay. And that's huge. That's a huge thing for for this team, for these players, for getting players to come in when they know that they're going to be taken care of. Just absolutely great. And I'm excited about that going forward. Now, a little off topic here, but Matt Rowell deserves to let us go off topic here for $4.99. We appreciate you, Matt, for the super chat donation here, asking how was the theater. I'm actually it's this week. This is why I'm going to be out one more week, is because my show opens up Thursday. So I've got a busy week lined up, but the show so far is going great. As far as all the preparation, when I'm done here, I'm going back and I'm finishing to make sure I have all my lines picture perfect. I've got like 200 plus lines that I got to make sure come out right for myself and the team. But appreciate you, Matt, for asking and for that super chat. Much, much appreciated. Not that one. That's the one button right there. So the Dante Fowler played the game defense cannot sluggish with Dante with the TD. Gibbs old school there. Dante was fantastic today.
Tressway punted once. I mean, this was just all around just victory here. Yeah,
victory here. Gregory here. Adam Peters equals Greg Guy all off season. My boy knows what he's doing, honestly. Appreciate you tuning in, Greg. Appreciate everybody tuning in. We will be live Wednesday at 7:30 Eastern. Trav and Stoner handling things. We will have, of course, a Bears content creator in with us to make sure we get the Bears side of things. It is the matchup we've all been waiting for. Jayden Daniels versus Caleb Williams. It's going to be a fantastic one. So make sure that you tune in on this Wednesday. No Ask Nathan this week again. As I mentioned, it's what we call in theater world as Hell Week, because it's just everything is getting put together as you get ready for the show. So Ask Nathan's going to be delayed one more week because of that, but we will be back and having some good times there with it. And I'm trying to work on some of those graphics to make them even more fun than what we've seen previously. But I'm Nathan. That's Trev. Washington winning big 40-7 over the Carolina Panthers. And until next time. You got to hit it, Trev. No Stoner.
No ribs for dinner tonight.
Be a fan.